Hi folks, today I'm going to talk to you about how to set up your welder. Now, as you see, I have in front of me, Harbor Freight's titanium 125. It's a little 110. It's made only for fluxcore welding. There's no gas involved. This will give you a basic idea. E71T-11 wire. It's 030 diameter wire, and it's a 2-pound spool. I know they got that all labeled wrong. There was a issue. I don't really want to go into it with this company right here. They was originally sent me this wire when I was ordering it from them off of Amazon, and this wire is actually really good. But there was an issue with it, and they said something about they went through another vendor or something like that, and started sending it like this. It's packaged differently and everything like that. They use a vacuum sealed foil in this one, and this one it's vacuum sealed in plastic. I prefer this type, but either way it welds somewhat similar, but this one I found just does a little bit better. Now, as far as this machine goes, I'm going to show you what it takes to set this machine up. The cord on it, just plugs into any AC outlet you got in the house, and pretty much transfers from alternating current to direct current, because running flux, you need a polarity of direct current negative. So anyhow, let me get on to explaining the machine. This right here is your whip or your electrode. You got your diffuser on there, which if you were pushing gas, you'd have a little hole sticking out of there, and that's where your gas would come out, and then there'd be a different type of nozzle. So then you have your tip. Tiny tip is a 030 tip. I'm going to put this one back on there because it's still pretty good. Still using it. And this is 030 type tip to match the 030 wire. You got your little welpers here. And then this little cone just goes over the diffuser just to protect the diffuser in case you touch anything while you're welding, you're not arcing out. Now, you still might run into that with your tip if you get too close to the surface area of what you're welding, but it's not a bad idea to have that on there. But if you don't, it's not the end of the world. You just got to be a little bit more careful. We just call that your little insulator. So now, and then we have your ground clamp. It does all right. It's not the greatest, but hey, whatever. Grounds to what I need to ground to, welds what I need to weld. So now, as far as your polarity, your direct current electrode negative, which would be DCEN, is what you call straight polarity. Now, the simplest way I can explain it to you is your direct current. So this is running direct current. It's not running alternating current. Direct current electrode is going to be in the negative. So if you ever, this one you don't have to set up, but for your bigger machines and stuff, if you ever have to set it up, that means you'd want to plug your electrode into the negative slot. That's all that means. Make it simple. Electrode positive, plug your electrode or your stinger, say you're stick welding your stinger, into the positive slot, and then your ground would go into negative. So right now we're DCEN, so we can say that this is your negative and that's your positive. Now we're going to go ahead and open this up, let you see inside of her. And so right here you got your tensioner. Alright, we can take the tensioner out and pull this little nut off here, the spring. This sits over it. And I added this in extra. This is just for me because the bottom is plastic, and I just don't like that. I want this thing to slide as freely as possible. So it's just a washer from a parts house, and then this is a spline tooth bearing. I got a little bit of grease on it, and if y'all don't know what a spline tooth bearing is, you can get that like $6 off of Amazon. And then it's just to sit over there, and with a spool of wire sits on top of that. When it sits on that and I have the nut on there and the tension and everything, it just allows it to flow smooth and not get stuck and caught on the plastic, because you got plastic through plastic. It gives it that movement. So just a little $6 part. It actually does wonders. Now, you're dealing with, you got your 030 tip, 030 wire. Now, this is the guts. Over here, your roller is very important, okay? Now, I don't know if this will zoom into it without being all foggy. I'm not sure. I don't know if I can get it to do that. I'm going to try to. Maybe it'll show, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. It's zooming into my fingers pretty. Maybe I could get a good picture of that or something and I could show it. But anyhow, there's little teeth on here. And I wish it would zoom into that. That's going to bug me. But anyhow, there's little teeth in this slot. It's not smooth. It's not completely hollowed out, grooved out. That if you have a roller like that, you'd want to use that for your solid core wire, you know. And so right now, if you see on here, you have the diameter of wire for the roller, and this is a 035. And if you flip it over to this side, it's the 030, and that's what we want. Okay, we don't want to use the 035, we want to use the 030. And normally on your rollers, the side that's facing you, it's the roller on the other side. So I'm going to stick this on here. That's not the case with this. Alright, so get it on there, and we got an 030 wire on there, and put this little plastic nut. I'd say that's the worst thing about this unit, is most of the stuff in here is plastic. And then we're going to stick our wire on there. I don't know if I could do that. I only got one hand, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to take my wire, and got a little grease on this end. Pull this out. And okay, now that I got that out, got the wire out, I don't want to feed it through really right yet. Man, if I could hold it. Oh, that's not good. I just spidered it all out. Maybe I could edit that out later. I ain't too much worried about it. Spin it all back. Oh man, that just made it even worse. That's okay. If I had an extra hand. Okay, so anyhow, I'll probably edit that out. And then put your wire on there. Let's put the nut on there, and we're going to put the tensioner on there. So it's only got one hand. If I had like a camera helper or something like that, it'd probably be a little easier. Maybe down the road I'll get one of them. Put your little spring in there. And then we're going to put the nut on there. Got the nut on there. And try to do this with one hand so don't shoot it out. Put a little pressure on there and tighten her up. Just a little bit. Alright, got it threading. Get it on there so it won't spin too much. And then, a little looser I guess. And then what I want to do is I want to snip this off because I done bent it on accident. And I had grease on there and I don't like that. So, now I'll feed our wire through here, through this little hole right here. I'm gonna loosen this up a little bit so it'll pull a little freer. I'm gonna feed our wire through here. There we go. Had it way too tight. Alright, now this end of the wire right here, we want to get through that other little hole right there. I don't know if you could see it. And push it through. Bam. Alright, so now we got the wire in that other little hole. And we just keep kind of feeding it through. Now, you want to make sure that that wire is sitting in that little slot or that roller. You do as imperative, otherwise it's not going to work right. You're going to tighten it all up. You're going to close this part of the roller tensioner, and it ain't going to work right. So, next thing I do is I make sure this is not too tight. I don't need it super tight. I just want it on there. I'll pull the nut off. And man, this would be a lot better if I had extra hands. You know, down the road, I guess, better equipment and stuff. You know, once I get more, I guess, more subscribers and stuff like that. So anyhow, then all you gotta do is make sure your tensioner's good. You don't need it super duper tight. And then plug her in. So go ahead and plug her in and power it on. Now you can feed it with the trigger. Once it starts pulling, you want to make sure it's not slipping or anything like that. Now I'm going to have issues because I only have one hand and I spired the wire. You know, you don't really want that right now. That's not important right now. Right now is that's feeding. You want to make sure that's not stripping. Okay, the wire's still feeding through. That's what's important, and it'll fix itself out. As long as it's feeding that wire through, that's what we want. We want to feed that wire through, and then you'll see it come out here. Now there is another feature on this unit, so I'm holding it with the trigger. There's another feature that this little switch that's over here. Now if I push this switch, call it their little cold feed, and it'll go real fast, and it'll really shoot that wire through. I'm not too worried about that though. Let the wire come through. Alright, wire's through. Probably let a little bit too much come out. And then what I'll do is I'll put the tip on there. See if I can. I'll just go ahead and shut this. I don't need that open no more. And then see if I can get a good shot of this. And I'll put the tip on there. And then we'll go ahead and, my fingers are in the way. There we go. Slide it on. I can fingers keep getting in there. Tighten her up. Get real snug with the fingers, and then you're going to take your little dikes on here and give it just a little snug. You don't need to be super tight, and then we're going to snip off the excess because we don't need that. That's about what you need. And then take your cone, and some just pop on there. This one just happens to be threaded. Now you're all set up to weld. Just as simple as that. Make sure your stinger and your whip, make sure it's not kinked. There's a liner in there. You don't want to pinch it off or anything like that. And then we're going to move the machine over and out of the way. And then we're going to discuss how you start welding it. Okay? And that'll be in the next video. So that's how you put your wire in your machine to get ready to weld.